A big part of the genre-defining Roland sound is our unique approach to effects processing. The swirling Juno chorus, feedback-drenched tape echo, and others have left their mark on countless tracks over the decade. And with Zenology FX, you can now add that flavor to any keyboard sound or instrument track right inside your DAW. Fast, lightweight, and with a modern, streamlined interface, Zenology FX is powered by our acclaimed zen-core synthesis system and brings decades of sound research to your creative workflow. So here we have an instance of Zenology FX. As you can see, it's a very simple, straightforward interface, and you can go down to different categories of effects, choose the effects, and all the controls will change based on the effect that you choose. You can also quickly scroll through the effects using your mouse or your keyboard, and this is a great way to audition effects in real time on the sound that you're using. You can also go to Menu and Zoom, and you can resize the interface. Let's go ahead and pull up a Jupiter 8 from Roland Cloud, and I've got a straightforward patch going on here, a couple sawtooths, a little bit of filter. We'll take a listen to how it sounds dry, and then we'll start adding some Zenology effects. So taking a look at the categories, let's check out a filter. Put on a multi-mode filter. This is kind of a DJ style filter, which works with a high pass when you turn to the right and a low pass when you turn to the left. Which is really useful for lots of mixing considerations. We've got phasers. Let's check out Infinite Phaser. It's got that infinitely rising phaser sound, and of course, with all these effects, you've got lots of different options for modes and various settings. Let's check out the choruses. Of course, we've got some legendary choruses in here like CE1, Juno 106. I'd like to take a quick look at the SDD 320, the Dimension D. The Dimension D was often described as the chorus for people who don't think they like chorus. And we'll take a listen to the dry, what we're hearing right now. And we'll add just mode number 1, a very light chorusing, but it does magic to the sound in a mix. Let's take a listen. Just adds such a great sense of space. It of course can go a little bit deeper for some more obvious chorusing effects. Moving on, we've got lots of modulation effects, including auto pan, with different shapes for the modulation wave, different rates that can also sync to your clock. And moving all the way down to the bottom, we've got combination effects, so one effect into another, and this includes the JD800 multi-effects section. And with the JD800 multi-effects, you can rearrange the order of the 4 effects included. Let's keep working with the Jupiter 8, but we'll change up our sound to more of a chord, percussive kind of sound. And let's check out some delays. So the reverse delay is very cool. It's got one main delay, which you can pan left or right. I've got the tempo synchronized, got our feedback control, and you've also got 2 separate delays, which are panned hard left and right now. Which can make just a huge kind of delay sound. And of course, it wouldn't be Roland without classic tape echo. And with the tape echo, you've got a lot of character to work with. You've got tape distortion, wow and flutter on the feedback, EQ, and also the option for different heads, so you can change the mode to not just one long tape head, but combinations like short and long. And from there, we can pan left or right. Got that wonderful familiar tape echo decay. So I've got the TR-909 plugin open here, and a pretty basic beat. Let's open up Zenology Effects. And we'll go to the compressor and limiter section. Let's choose Transient. So this Transient Designer allows you to really tighten things up. And you can use this on any audio, of course. Really helps just add a bit of attack or take attack away. Use it to just make things a bit punchier. And of course, you can stack as many Zenology effects as you would like. Let's also take a look at some of the drive and amp effects. Let's pull up the saturator. So here we can distort it. And while working with the Transient Designer, we can really get a totally different sound. Let's take a look at using Zenology effects in the context of working on a mix with multiple instruments. I've got a couple pretty simple loops going on right now, so we're going to take a listen to how it sounds currently, and then we'll get creative with some of our favorite effects. So it's pretty simple. Some drums, bass, and a very upfront EP sound from the RD88. So let's start with this EP sound. Let's just solo it, and we'll pull up Zenology Effects. So I'd like to start with a very subtle effect. Under Lo-Fi, we'll find Phonograph. Now I'm mostly going to use this for some very, very light wow and flutter. You can hear a little bit of pitch bending, just like a record not playing back at the exact perfect speed. I could also add a little bit of record noise or select the type of disc. On top of that, let's also add the legendary Juno 106 chorus, and we'll see how it really widens that sound and opens it up. There we go. Magic. And you'll notice there's a bit of noise introduced. So this model of the Juno 106 chorus has variable noise. So I'm going to keep that low, but I want to make sure that it's there. All right, let's move on to some drums. Let's start with a simple loop from Zenology Pro. And you'll notice that the drums don't sound like they're mixed that well. You'll hear the hi-hat is extremely low, very, very high frequency, not very much body to it. Well, let's pull up an instance of Zenology Effects. And again, we're going to take a look at the Lo-Fi section. This time, I'm going to choose Lo-Fi Compressor. There it is. Totally changed up the focus of the sound, added that lo-fi vibe, and that snare and clap are just slapping now, and the hi-hat sounds nice and chunky. So it really brought up all the low parts and squashed everything together. Let's add the bass. So for the bass, we're using the SH101. I mean, I gotta say, that's already sounding pretty good. But with such a low kind of sub bass, it doesn't always cut through the mix that well. So let's take a look at our effects, and what we want to pull up under drive and amp is the tone fattener. And all we're gonna do is add a little bit of odd harmonics. And that's just gonna let it cut through the mix a little bit more. Just gonna leave it like that. Let's add some shakers in for the drums. And finally, our synth pluck sound. Let's take a listen. That's sounding all right. I'm just going to quickly add in an SBF 325 flanger on this. All I noticed was that the synth is sitting a little bit too dry, and this will just let it sit a bit different. So far, we've been using effects on individual instruments only, but when using effects like delay, it's really nice to set it up on an effects send so that you can feed different instruments into it to varying degrees. I've got a modulation delay set up on an effects send, and let's take a listen to what happens in the mix when we add some delay to our RD88 EP and the SH2 pluck sound. So here we are with no delay. Now let's turn that delay up. And we'll introduce the rest of the instruments back. So another great thing you can do with groups, such as your drum group, is use some of the filters that are available within Zenology Effects. So here I have the super filter set up on my drum bus. Let's take a listen. This is great for transitions, breakdowns, and we can even add some synchronized movement. That movement was synchronized to the clock of our project, which is super useful. Now, why don't we switch over to a slightly different loop, and we're going to take a look at another really cool synchronized effect. So in this loop, the electric piano is a lot more upfront and big full chords, and they happen more often. So it's just sustained chords, but let's take a look under the filter section in Zenology FX, and we're going to choose the step filter, and we'll see what happens when we add it on. So this is like a step sequenced filter, and you can choose different filter types, but it just adds some really cool movement to sustained sounds. Let's add our drums back in here. Totally different vibe. And finally, we can bounce over to our master track. And I've added the DJFX Looper on here. And I went ahead and mapped it out to my MIDI controller so I can get hands-on and start playing around with all the different settings. Zenology Effects brings the unmistakable character of Roland sound to any track. Try it today with just a free Roland account on Roland Cloud. And for less than the price of a cup of coffee each month, you can produce complete, professional-sounding tracks with our ZenBeats music creation app, Zenology Synthesizer, and now Zenology Effects. Find out more at roland.com.